How's everybody doing? Really excited to be here. Again, it's Coach Mike Teller here with my guy, Coach Jeremy Major, and we're incredibly lucky, fortunate, blessed to have Coach Clayman, Coach Flynn Clayman, who's the head assistant, number one assistant at Southern Utah University. I've known Coach Clayman for a while, since his younger days, but great guy, great player, is on his way to being a Division I head coach really shortly. But I'm going to let Coach Clayman introduce himself and talk a little bit about his path, his journey to how he's gotten to where he's at, and then we'll start picking his brain to helping all you hoopers out at home. But anyway, Coach Clayman, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in the basketball world and all that?
Yeah, well, first of all, Coach Teller, thanks for having me on. Jeremy, thanks for having me on. Seems like just yesterday we were in the Pasadena Boys and Girls Club, and I was fighting just for a chance to play college basketball. And I was just a young kid with some heart and a work ethic and some potential. And I really needed someone to really believe in me. And the BTI family was definitely one that really believed in me and gave me that confidence to really go for my dream of being a Division I player. It wasn't one of those programs that was trying to get kids that were already there. It was more interested in finding kids that had a chance and that had the heart, the desire. And I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that, because one thing leads to another. And I don't think I would have had a chance to play Division I basketball. And a lot went into it, but the BTI family was definitely a big part of it. So I just want to say thank you to you, Coach Eichart, and all the other coaches that were involved at the time. If I was in the gym at 2 a.m., Eichart was there walking out the gym at that time. And thinking back, it's just like people don't do that really for kids unless they're 5-star kids, future pros and all that type of stuff. So I'm really appreciative.
Appreciate you.
Yep. And so, from I played high school at Venice High for Coach Rashid Hazard. I was not the most athletically gifted player. I had some ups and downs, some issues that didn't allow me to play with my high school team my last year. I was able to play AAU with BTI and get that exposure. I kind of blew up my last summer. I got some offers, was on my way to prep school, actually, the Maine Central Institute. And then that summer kind of blew up at one of Dinos's camps, pulled in a bunch of offers, ended up going to Colorado State kind of late. And then, the journey began. There's a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Didn't play that much at Colorado State, ended up transferring to Troy, had some serious injuries at Troy while I was there, experienced what that's like. Really wanted to play my last year of college basketball, ended up going to the University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky. That was a great experience for me to get back on my feet, find my game again, find my confidence again. Ended up leading the nation in 3-point percentage, winning the conference, going to the national tournament. Really got to see how many good hoopers there are out there when I got to that level of NAIA, in that Mid-South Conference, Kentucky, Ohio. You got Pikeville, Georgetown. These schools are big time basketball schools. We had on my team alone, we had 7 Division I transfers for one reason or another end up at that level. I believe the former LA City Player of the Year, Tyrone Shelley, was coming off the bench for a team in that league at the time. He started at San Diego State. So there's just all kind of hoopers in that league, and it gave me respect for all coaches at all levels. They're battling to find players. They're battling to find talent, and that was a great experience for me going forward to playing overseas in the Republic of Georgia. Great experience culturally. Basketball-wise, had a great season there, was an all-star, was a Eurobasket all-league, ended up going to Ecuador on sort of a summer. They have a league in the summer that I was playing in. That was a great experience. And then went to Brazil. And then from there, I got a passport in Israel, and I was bought out and went to Israel for 3 years and played. And then from there, decided I wanted to start coaching. Got a full-time job in Australia coaching. Well, actually, let me backtrack. The summer before that, my first coaching experience was with BTI, with Coach Teller. I was just an assistant coach for him, volunteer assistant. And I didn't really know if I wanted to coach at the time, to be honest. I was just doing it because I wanted to just test it out. And that team really inspired me in a lot of ways. We had a bunch of under the radar guys who weren't getting the respect they deserved. We ended up balling out that summer, going to the finals of the Fab 48. Mie Oni's in the NBA now. Jordan Cohen is in the Israeli league, making good money. And so those were guys who had no offers at the time. And one's an NBA player, the other one's a professional basketball player, and a bunch of other guys ended up going to play professional basketball. But it was just eye-opening to me to see, like, we beat these 5-star prospects teams pretty handily too at times. And it was an eye-opening experience to me to see that coaching matters, culture matters, and it was inspirational to me to take that step to coach. And the following season, I played another year, and I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to coach. So I went to Australia to coach. And then when my visa was up there, Coach Simon swooped me up. I came here as a GA, and I'm going into my 5th year now. Every year I've been elevated. And like you said, now I am the top assistant here. So I've hit every position from the 7th man to the 2nd man now. And it's just been a great experience. Every year we've improved in winning percentage. Every year the program's gotten better. And I'm just blessed to be a part of it. And it's really a credit to all the coaches I had in the past who taught me so many things that I'm passing on to these kids now.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm glad everyone got to hear your journey. Even know how you and I have been intertwined throughout the process. Yeah, now I'm excited that I get to pick your brain on this end. Now you're on the other side. Now you get to be the one looking out for the best fits for your program. So my first question to you on that is, are there any, like, what are your pet peeves? Certain pet peeves, certain things that you look for that catch your eye, could be positive or negative, but certain pet peeves that even you particularly, I mean, it could be particular to your programs, but just certain specifics that seem to jump out to you, positive or negative, when you're looking at a player on a court.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, we do a ton of research on guys. So we don't just see you play one good game and you come here and we call your coach once. Like, we're going to ask multiple people in your background about you as a person and really about your character, because biggest pet peeve, non-starter, I don't care who you are or how good you are. If you're overly selfish or overly just about yourself and you're going to ruin the culture, ruin the team, cancer, so to speak, I don't really care who you are. You're not going to join the program. Kids would be shocked at the kids out there now who are in JUCO or whatever it might be, who screwed up at a high major. And now, like, we won't even look at them because of the intel that they have as a person. And really, to me, selfishness and not loving the game of basketball. Those are two things where I can't really work with you. If you don't love the game and you're selfish, there's not a whole lot that a coach can do for you. If you are having some academic troubles, if you have some skills that you need to work on, whatever it might be, those are things that we can work with kids on if they have a true desire to play. But if they don't have a real desire to play and they're just doing this for the scholarship or for the girls or whatever it might be, they're never really going to come around to your coaching. So I would say those two things we try to do a lot of background work on. And we know kids are good at giving the right answers too. So you can't really just talk on the phone and talk out of it. Like, really how you live your day-to-day life, we're going to find out. And that's going to play a huge role in whether we can offer you a scholarship or not.
And awesome. Do you have some, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, right? I mean, I know you kind of talked about the character, right? I mean, in terms of character, what are some specifics that you're looking for in character? You looking more towards, right? How disciplined? What are they doing when no one's watching, right? You talk about day to day. What are some of those specific things you're looking for on a day-to-day basis?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say, like, if I'm watching a kid play, if he gives an attitude when he comes out the game, that's a starter right there. If he has some back talk to his coach. Now, talking with your coach, constructive conversation, questions, those sorts of things are great. But I know it all type attitude is just a non-starter. If you're on the bench and you're not cheering on your teammates that's something that's a red flag to me. Like if you can't enjoy your
Absolutely.
teammates' success, then you're so self-consumed that you'll never really be a part of a winning team. So those are a couple specific things that I'll look for. And then I'm aware that kids put on a show sometimes when college coaches are there. So I might ask for film of games when no one's there,
Yeah.
and look for those sorts of things. So it would start by we're looking at your game and how you play, and then we have a list of guys who can play, and then we start trying to cross off guys off the list based off their character. So those will be two specific things. If you're not cheering for your teammates, or you're giving an attitude when you come out the game, you have bad body language, you don't feel like doing the dirty work on the court,
Yeah.
we're probably just going to check you off the list. Because the reality is, and at BTI, we're talking to kids in high school currently. The reality is the way this game has changed in terms of the portal, and teams needing to be older and everyone having a one-time transfer. Most programs are taking like 1 to 2 high school kids a year. I mean, it's significantly less than it was a few years ago. So we're looking for reasons to check you off the list, really. I mean, there's a long list of guys that you like, and you're like, damn, how do I trim this list down? And those character traits are easy ways to trim it down for starters.
And people,
That's good to know.
yeah,
That's
people
good to
hear
know.
that. Oh no, go on, Jay, go on.
I mean, that's good to know. Comparing, like, shoot, somebody like me coming out of high school as a senior and getting the opportunity to play, go to school as an incoming freshman is interesting to hear that, because it's tough, man. I mean, there's only what, I mean, in each division there might be only 300 schools available, right? Close to that, maybe a little bit more, but if you guys are only going for guys who have experience, it makes it really tough for those high school kids coming out thinking that they're guys. But hey, you got a rude awakening coming if you are handling business in terms of even just your character. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, it takes a lot more now to get a scholarship, really. I mean, especially these next few years with everyone having an extra year on top of the portal.
Yeah.
We're sitting here right now. Like, the reality is we're sitting here right now, and we don't even have a scholarship for next year if everyone comes back. Like, not one. And that's not just us, that's everyone. Now, if the NCAA decides to increase the scholarship limit again on guys who use an extra year, like, so for example, this year we had 2 guys back as 5th-year seniors, so we were able to go 2 scholarships over. The NCAA has not decided yet whether guys who are juniors right now who should have been seniors, if they come back again next year, the NCAA has not decided on whether we're going to be able to use those scholarships. So we're really sitting here like we have no scholarships, and that's the same thing with a bunch of schools. So I would say this year, as much as any, is going to be the hardest year possible to get a scholarship. So you might as well take care of the controllables of your character, being a good teammate, so no one can say that you don't have those character traits.
Yeah, I appreciate you even saying it, because I'm sure I mean, coaches, it can be a line that players hear a bunch and maybe even get sick of hearing about, body language, all that stuff counts. But hearing it, obviously, from someone who's doing the recruiting themselves, to hear it being said that there's hundreds of guys going for the same couple spots and a lot of guys could play. So what is going to separate some guys, is going to be that body language, that character, how you feel towards teammates, how you accept coaching. I'm sure, like you said, when a guy goes over to his coach, when he gets pulled out, it's easy to tell if that conversation is constructive or is overly emotional, and a player is not able to center himself and accept coaching in that moment. So yeah, no, that's great stuff. I'm gonna keep it rolling. Obviously, Jeremy's having some technical issues, but I'm sure he'll pop back in here. There we go. There he is.
We're all good, man. We're all good.
Anyway, I'm gonna dive in a little bit position wise. I'm gonna start a little bit with guard work, since everybody thinks they're a guard anyway. I may as well start there. What are some traits you look for specifically? We can even start with the point guard position. What are some traits you look for that you feel like your point guard needs to have?
Well, I would say, looking around basketball now, most kids should see that it's rare that there's just one point guard on the floor now. You know, there's usually at least two guys who in the old school days would be considered like a point guard or a ball handler or decision maker. So guys who can make good IQ decisions in the pick and roll, in transition. If I'm seeing a guy with a negative assist to turnover ratio, you know, that's a good way to cross the guy off the list right there. Efficiency is huge. Your points per game don't matter that much to coaches anymore. Good coaches who are your per game stuff doesn't really mean
you may need to repeat that. You may need to repeat that one. I don't know if people are going to believe that one. Yeah.
Your per game.
Say that one again.
I mean, you know, it used to be a good way to gauge players back in the day before we had the ability to really analyze possessions. But as the game has gotten smarter, we're looking more at points per possession or points per minute than points per game. What are your percentages? Your true shooting percentage that incorporates your obviously your field goal percentage, your 3-point percentage, and your free throw percentage. Do you get to the free throw line and do you make them? Threes are worth more than two, obviously. And that's what adds up into your true shooting percentage. I could go on Synergy right now and pull up all types of analytics on any college basketball player. And really I could pull up a lot on high school players from different AAU circuits and different tournaments. You can go on KenPom and get even more analytics on every player, which is going to show your true shooting percentage, your effective field goal. Effective field goal percentage doesn't even include your free throws. That just weights 3-point shots worth 3, 2-point shots worth 2. So if you're making threes, that's worth a third more than making twos in terms of your percentage, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that has been picked up in the NBA. I mean, there's a reason why coaches are teaching wings to run to the corner on a 3-on-2 break now, rather than both wings go for a layup. Because if you start doing the math, if you can shoot the ball wide open shots in the corner, if you can make 60% of your wide open shots which a good basketball player should, that's really 90% from two.
Yeah.
If you think about it, and then you've got better floor spacing for your guys who don't shoot threes, who are on the inside. So that will probably bring me to my next thing, is shooting, the ability to shoot the ball. So do you have IQ, efficiency, take care of the ball, and then can you shoot the basketball? The scouting that takes place now is very in-depth. And if you can't shoot the ball, just teams won't guard you. Or if you're great at making reads in a ball screen off a hedge or off a level, well, if you can't shoot, teams aren't going to level. They're not going to hedge. They're just going to go under you. And there's no triggers on the rest of the court, so you're basically useless. Now, there are exceptions to that. Like, for example, our point guard we have right now, he averaged 15 points a game, 6 assists a game, 6 rebounds a game. But he's such a downhill threat that even when you go under, he still gets downhill. And he's so good at seeing the floor that no one can really stop him from getting to the paint. And he always makes the right pass. So he's been able to get by thus far without being a great shooter. Now, he shot 60% from the floor last year and had over a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
Was that his real percentage or his effective percentage?
His real percentage.
Oh.
I could go on and try to find his effect.
No. I was just making sure we had that right.
Yeah, so that's 60% from the floor. He only made 5 threes on the season. Now he entered the NBA draft this past summer and had some workouts, and basically the feedback for that level was like, yeah, you're great and all about getting downhill, but you need to be able to shoot the ball better. And so he's worked his butt off on that. So as he's trying to level up to being a pro, like, yeah, you're getting it done at this mid-major college level, but if you really want to play in the NBA, he still needs to be able to find a jump shot, which he's been working on, and he's making them in practice, which can make him real dangerous. So, on the court, we're looking for IQ, taking care of the ball, and the ability to knock down shots. If not, you better be an elite downhill guy. And when I say elite, like, this kid's dunking from the free throw line off 2. Like, he's that much of an athlete that no one can keep him out of the paint. So, and then there's the defensive end. Obviously, do you bring it? Do you cause pressure for the other team defensively? So I would say that's what we're looking for in our 1 and our 2. Like, I think the old school 2 guard who just catches and shoots is gone. You got to be able to handle the ball and take care of the ball a little bit now.
In terms of, right, this, I was going to hit, you went pretty in depth on that offensive side. In terms of the defensive side, right, you want them to be able to cause pressure. You want them How about their ability to play off the ball? I think that's something that doesn't get talked about much. I mean, I know at the college level you're going to teach it, right? You got your drills, your 4-on-4, you got your shell drill, but how much is there to be already learned, right? And already the knowledge. How much of that should already be known coming into college? You know what I mean?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think that is something as a coach you have to gauge their talent to IQ ratio, if that makes
Right.
sense. Uh,
Gotcha.
Someone who has an extreme level of physical talent and has God-given gifts that you can't teach, you might be willing to spend a little more time with him in terms of his IQ once he gets to school. Uh, if you don't have those gifts, those physical gifts, and you don't necessarily need them to be a great college basketball player or even a professional basketball player, uh,
Hmm.
you probably need to have a better IQ because you're probably going to need to be spending more time in the weight room on your physical side, and those sorts of things. But it's tough to give an exact answer on that because it's more of a feel thing. It's like, all right, is this a guy that I am willing to spend enough time with on his IQ aspects, because he has certain God-given gifts that we can't teach. And then
Yeah.
there's guys who you recruit who are IQ guys who are going to come in and know all the right things from the jump. And you don't really need to spend a ton of time on them as a coach because the reality is you do get pretty busy here as a coach. You don't have time to be everyone's individual trainer as an assistant coach. You just have too much on your plate. You're trying to get film for every guy. You're trying to prepare practice. You're trying to recruit. You're looking over academic guys, and there's so many things on your plate that to spend hours in the gym every day with the guy is just impossible. So you need to have a balance. Okay, these are guys who are supreme talents that I'm going to be able to try to teach the game to, and then I have other guys on the team who I don't really need to teach a lot about. I don't need to teach them the IQ aspects.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
big time.
that's
big
great.
time. That's big time.
Quickly, I'll let you talk about forwards real quick. Just some things you look for in your forwards, some things that you want them to have or make sure they don't have, or anything on that nature.
Hmm. I think the game is going so small that, for one, a lot of forwards need to be willing to play the 5 spot, if that makes sense. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we're not talking about 5 right now, but
Maybe some threes need to be willing to play the 5, right?
exact guy. Most guys who think they're threes, you're in might be being a small ball 5 if you're really
Yeah.
trying to make it
Yeah.
at college level.
Yeah.
A big reason why we scored so many points last year was because we played the majority of the game small with a 6'6" center who was a crazy rebounder, who was tough on defense, who shot 42% from 3 and finished everything inside. So he was a problem on the other end, and he was tough enough on the defensive end and the rebounding end to play small. But I would say if we're saying the 3-man, you got to be able to shoot the ball as well. 4-man, you got to be able to shoot the ball as well. I think the only 2 positions on the court that can really get away with not shooting the ball really well from 3 would be a rim rolling 5 who puts a lot of pressure on the rim, and an elite downhill guard.
Yeah.
But when you're talking 2 through 4, you need to be able to catch and shoot. Let's just start there. I mean, I can't even go to my head coach with a 2 through 4 that can't shoot. He's not even going to look at you. He's not even going to consider it because of the scouting that takes place. Like, guys just don't guard you. They just clog up the paint. So that's for starters. You need to be able to make threes. Like, the mid-range game is great, and that's for late shot clock, but most good offensive coaches now want threes, and they want shots at the rim, and they want to get to the free throw line because that's proven what works. And then you need a couple guys on the floor that can create mid-range late shot clock. And those are your top 3 guys probably. But if you can catch and shoot the 3 at an elite level, okay, now you're looking like, okay, I can play 2 through 5. Now you have more opportunities to get a scholarship when you're looking at the numbers. I mean, that's really the only reason I got a chance to play. I mean, that was all I could do, was really catch and shoot at an elite level. If I was coming up in today's game where the threes are really emphasized, it would have been a whole different story. I mean, so I was coming up in a time when really you only needed your 4 was more like a guy who's playing in the post also.
Yeah, power forward, a real power forward. Yeah.
So I was kind of in that tweener spot, but we're looking out of our forwards. We want you to be able to shoot. You need to be able to rebound. You need to be able to defend multiple positions when we get into switching situations. Can you switch a ball screen and get in a stance and guard somebody? That's at least provide some resistance to them. Because if you can't, that's a big knock on you. Like I said earlier, we're looking for reasons to check you off the list. And if we can't, in a scouting report, say switch because you can't guard somebody, well, teams are so good in the pick and roll that when you can't switch, if you're playing a good guard, he just picks you apart.
Yeah.
But if you can switch, sit in a stance and guard, that's just a huge plus for your forwards. And then the rebounding aspect is huge. We don't want to, at least here, we don't want to spend a ton of time doing rebounding drills, box out drills, beating each other up. Like rebounding is a mentality, really. Do you have the toughness to meet your man, box him out, and go get the ball? Really. I mean, that's all it comes down to. So if you can't do that, I mean, then that's another reason we can check somebody off the list. So can you shoot? Can you rebound? Can you defend? That's really what we're looking for in our forwards.
That's great stuff.
And
Go on, Jim.
and I love that. And I love that you said, right, like it's a mentality, right? Because no matter, I mean, I know we're talking about forwards, but no matter what the size is, right? If you're a point guard, you need to be able to rebound the ball. No matter who you are, the mindset is, ball goes up, I'm boxing out, I'm going to get the ball. You know, and I think that's big time. But in terms of your forwards, right, I think you really hit it right on the spot. Like I think it's right. You get a lot of guys now in that forward position. Like they think all it is on the offense side. I'm gonna shoot threes. But hold on, man. Can you when it's time to switch? Can you stay in front of this one? Can you stay in front of this two? And let me know if I'm wrong. You're essentially just saying, hey, keep them out of the paint. We'll take a contested 3-point shot or contested mid range, but we need you to keep him in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, it's just a huge part of the game as the pick and roll has evolved. When you think about a pick and roll defense, whether you hedge, whether you ice, whether you trap that thing, whatever it is, it's creating an advantage for the offense if they make a right read. But if you can switch and everybody stays home, you're not giving up open shots and you're forcing the other team into a dribble jump shot. And so that is a huge separator for a lot of guys. Can you guard multiple positions?
Yeah.
And quite frankly, that's what pushes a lot of guys to be that small ball five, is when they can't guard those positions. So, I mean, those are just a few things that we're looking for from our forwards.
And even like you said, because there are other teams like yourself that will go small ball five, that'll give you a 6'6" guy that, you know, that can do that. So that 6'10" guy who's trying to get that starting five spot needs to know that he's got to be able to do that just as well as that 6'6" guy can, because now he's not just competing with other 6'10" guys for his five spot. He's competing with schools that are fully open to going small and to throw in, you know, a Paul George at the 4 and a, you know,
Terrence Mann at the 5.
Exactly.
That was the Clippers in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. Or Batum starting at 6'8" at the 5, or Draymond Green starting at 6'7". Like
PJ Tucker.
Basketball. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's great stuff. Another quick question. What and like I said, you can take this on the court, off the court, but what's some common mistakes? Some common mistakes you see players, could be families, but what are just some common mistakes that you see people, maybe they're just misguided, you know, the majority of the people are misguided in many ways, but I don't know if there's any off the top of your head you could think of where, you witness as a player, as a coach, but just common mistakes that a player might make that would be good for him or her to avoid.
Yeah. I think for starters, like we kind of discussed earlier, is getting caught up in your per game numbers.
Hallelujah.
Guys are looking at these NBA stats and they're trying to compare themselves to these guys. First of all, our game is much shorter in the college game. Your minutes are much less. The possessions are much less. You know, because you're having 30-second shot clock instead of 24. You've already cut off 8 minutes of the game to begin with. So don't get caught up in your per game. There's a lot of guys who make it in professional basketball that were efficient in less minutes. And I played with a lot of guys who averaged way more points per game than me that never got a chance to really play professionally. So don't get caught up in the per game stuff. Secondly, the big one that we kind of discussed too is getting caught up in your position. Minutes are hard to find.
That's a
Like
good
if you
one.
can get on the court in any position, you need to get out there and do it and embrace it and understand that just because KD is 6'10", 6'11", playing the three, you don't need to compare yourself to KD. Really, more times than not, 99.99% of the time, you're just limiting your options.
Yep.
If that's how you're thinking. If we want to put you at the 5 and you're 6'5" and you can really shoot the three and you can rebound, then just embrace it, because the offense looks nothing like an old school offense. You know, you're not necessarily going to be around the basket. You might be at the 5 and you have the ball in your hands, you know, playing dribble handoff, making decisions like Jokic or Draymond, whatever it might be. So guys who are getting caught up in position a lot of times limit themselves too.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Yeah, and I would say another mistake guys make is just getting caught up in the conference that a school is in rather than the program that they're going to. Like, oh, the WCC is a great conference. Yeah, it is. But guess what? Gonzaga is a whole lot different than, like, you know, no disrespect, but like
another school.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
yes. Another
so
school.
their conference rating, BYU and Gonzaga, they're high major schools basically.
Right.
And other ones are low major schools, and other ones are mid major. Right. So especially when kids hit the portal, I'm seeing now, like, they made the mistake once of going to the wrong level where they don't get to show what they can do. And then they transfer right to another school that's basically the same level. They're going to be in the same position. And I can tell you firsthand that you don't get better as a player unless you're getting the reps that you need, whether it be in practice and whether it be in games. You can work on your game all you want. You could be in there 3 times a day on the gun, and your skills are going to get better, and you could put on a show for somebody 1-on-0. But when those lights come on, you really need to have those reps and that experience to really be comfortable. So why not go to a level where you're going to get to show yourself? I mean, look at Damian Lillard out of Weber, or Steph Curry out of Davis, or CJ McCollum out of Lehigh, or Ja Morant out of Murray State. You could go down a list of these guys who, let's take Mie, for example.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you remember Mie had offers from SEC and different levels.
Big 12,
right?
Pac-12,
And he looked at it more like, okay, I'm going to get to Yale and I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to get a great education. But in terms of the basketball side, I'm going to get to show what I can do, and the world's going to find out. And then his first college game, he's playing against Markelle Fultz, who's projected number 1 pick. He scores 27. They beat Washington. Now he's an NBA prospect. Bam. If he was wearing the other jersey, he would have been backing him up. No one would know who you are. You're probably in the portal in a year, right? And you haven't developed as a player because you're not getting those reps. Forget game reps. Sometimes you don't even get practice reps. We've had guys who come in here who transfer from high major schools. They have hardly gotten any reps in practice for like 2 years. And it's 100%. Significantly hurt their game. And you watch them in a workout and you're like, this guy's amazing, but they forgot how to play basketball. And that's kind of the place I was in after I transferred from Colorado State to Troy, and I think Troy was the right level and the right fit, but I had injuries. And then I go to an NAIA school and I'm not comfortable yet playing games. And it took me a while. Like, here's a great example of how your mindset can affect your skill set, so to speak. Like, I could go in a workout and make every shot, right? I started that season 1 for 15 from 3. So I was not comfortable playing in games. I finished that season shooting 49% from 3 and leading the nation. So had I started the season with that same
comfortability,
I would have shot 60% from 3, which would have probably been an all-time record, right? But it took me like 5 games to get just used to playing again because of the situation. So because everyone can scout every level, I can get on Synergy right now and literally pull up any clip of any player, of anywhere, of any action. I could get your post-ups versus this double team, your ball screens where you pass, your ball screens where you shoot. I can get all that stuff in 1 second. It doesn't matter what school really you go to. If you're at a level where you're going to get to showcase what you can do and develop, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. What another question for you too. I mean, you talk about, right? What are your thoughts on guys, right? I mean, we don't want to get caught up in the points per game and all that type of stuff, right? But what about having like some goals per game, right? Like, you know what, man? I get 3 minutes, right? And in this 3 minutes, I want to try to get X amount of rebounds. I'm able to try to get to the free throw line this amount of times. If I'm in the right spot defensively, I want to maybe get 1 or 2 steals in this space. what are your thoughts on this? Maybe having some goals, some realistic goals, though, right? Some realistic goals that you could hit while being on the court for 2 to 3 minutes at a time, right? Because I don't want to say 10 minutes at a time, because at the collegiate level, you may be a guy who only gets, a guy who only gets 2 or 3 minutes at a time. So you got to make the best of those times, right? Like I feel like these days you get kids that just go out there because they're so caught up on the points per game that they go out there and they might have shot 5 times, 6 times, and they do anything else. And then when they get taken out, they're looking at you like, why am I out? Like, what's up? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, the truth is, before you even start, coach, is that's true for high school guys. Need to hear this answer too, because there's high school guys, whether you're senior, junior, coach has it in for you. You feel one way or the other. You're only getting a few minutes each half. You're trying to move up. You're a freshman or sophomore that's only getting a couple minutes for that reason, and you're trying to use those couple minutes wisely. Like Jeremy said, a lot of guys come in thinking, oh, I got to hit a shot, I got to score in order to stay on the court. But what is your advice to guys that are in that position, whatever the age, whatever the level? It could be a kid on a freshman team, JV, a guy who's playing for Duke, guys playing for the Lakers. But what's your advice on that?
Yeah, I think for individual goals in terms of game in, game out, I wouldn't put an individual goal on scoring, because everyone wants to score. So if you're trying to get on the court, you need to be thinking, okay, what's something I can do that other people don't want to do? And I think
Exactly.
taking charges, dive, deflections,
Yeah.
rebounding, like you can go get 20 rebounds,
No one,
and you can be selfish on the glass, and that's going to be good.
no coach is
You're
taking that guy out of the game.
No coach is taking that guy out of the game.
Yeah.
But a guy who takes 20 shots and is inefficient and is screwing up his offense will get taken out of the game. I would say individual scoring goals should be based on percentages, based off efficiency. And then be selfish with trying to take charges, be selfish with trying to be the toughest guy on the floor who rebounds. And it's funny how the offense kind of takes care of itself. Like, we had a kid, Mason Fawcett, right? He was second team all conference in the Big Sky. He wasn't a great scorer his first couple of years, but he got on the court because he's a sane rebounder, like nose first, bloody nose, diving on the floor. Just, you could not keep him off the glass. And then by year 3, he was literally the 20th highest efficient offensive player in the nation.
Damn.
Out of every player in college basketball, he's 20th.
Damn.
And his offensive efficiency came along, but he got himself on the court first through that toughness stuff. And then he made himself an all-league player through developing his jump shot and developing his post game. But he would have games, where he'd score 20 points. Then he'd have another game where he'd have 15 rebounds and not even attempt a shot. So your efficiency looks amazing because you're only taking good shots, and you get to stay on the floor all you want because you're doing something that no one wants to do.
Yeah.
So be selfish with the stuff that people don't want to do.
Love it. Love it.
I think that's a good point, right? Like, most people think I get on the court, I'm just doing the right things that are going to get your team going, right? Get your team winning, right? Rebounding, talking on defense, coming in and bringing the right energy. That actually gets you going offensively, rather than your mindset being, I got to score. So that's awesome. No, that's big time. That's big time.
Yeah. And it's just funny how, like, my last year of college, when it finally broke through and I shot great from 3 and shot almost 50% from 3, that was the year that my coach made me defend. Like, I had a game where I took 4 charges in a game.
Yeah, we tried at BTI. We couldn't we couldn't get that done. I'm glad.
It's part of maturing, and that's why we're doing stuff like this for kids, so they can hear the information now. And some will take it now, some will take it later. But you can save yourself a lot of just tough days and transfers and all that type of stuff if you can learn that stuff right now.
Yep. Another question as we get closer. What let's say you have a son. You don't yet, but one day you will, hopefully, and assuming that's what you want. And say like you have one now and he's in high school. How do you go about, and you don't even have to mention any specific AU programs. This could be general. This could be for a kid in North Carolina who's who's listening to this, that how would you go about picking an AAU team for your son right now?
I would probably look at fit and opportunity and development.
Yeah.
Really those three things. I mean, no one's gonna care that you're on an EYBL team 10 years from now if you never got to play and never got to develop. I mean, a college coach is gonna look at how good of a player you are. They're not gonna really care what your AAU team is, if that makes it, like your circuit, I should say. I think there is some stuff, like college coaches do get comfortable with certain AAU teams because they're like, okay, this AAU team turns out a certain type of kid.
Yeah.
They turn out a kid who's going to fit our program.
Built up a
but
reputation. Yeah.
You do want to have an opportunity to play, and that's why a lot of AAU teams won't just stack one team to the max and have 10 good guys, because you're really only going to play 7 to 8 guys. And it's more at that level of AAU is more about the ability to showcase what you can do necessarily than wins and losses, but playing the game the right way and having a good culture, which all college coaches want, usually leads to wins, if that makes sense. But
Yep.
A good AAU program is probably going to take that 9th or 10th man, instead of being an insurance guy on, say, your top team. They'll put them on a second team where they're going to really get to showcase what they would do. Whereas in a college situation, they might be an insurance guy for a year or two. But do you have your fit? And then development is huge, because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how good of a player you are.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, the lights are going to come on, the ball is going to be tipped up, and nothing else is going to matter but how good of a player you are. So you want to be developing. If someone can tweet out and get you a bunch of offers, but they're not developing you in a way that's going to get you ready to succeed at college, it's not going to matter. You're going to end up at the level that you should end up at eventually.
Eventually. Right. Go on, Jay.
No, I mean, you're right. The development side, right? I think that's like a big point, right? Like, on both sides, because at the same time, if you're in a way, you're going to be the same player that you already are in that moment, right? I mean, you'll get, obviously, as you get older and you mature, you might be athletically gifted or whatever, but right, understanding the game, the IQ side, is that what you're talking about in terms of developing?
Yeah, it's the IQ side. It is the skill set side. I mean, it's the culture side. I think like BTI is a great example of a program that teaches culture. And if you don't need to teach that to kids, and they understand that when they get to college, is huge. So it's all those things. It's skill set, it's IQ, it's the off the court things like the culture. If you're an AAU program where you're letting your guys come at halftime with no jersey and they get to just run in and play because they can dunk, well, now I gotta really spend a lot of time changing that kid when he gets to the college level, because it's not going to work. So that could be another factor to check a kid off a list. I would say just look at the track record of your AAU program. Are they really developing guys, or are they just finding guys that are already made products? If that makes sense. Like, if you're just picking guys who are already made, well, you're not really developing. You're just marketing. But that marketing might get you seen, it might get you some phone calls, but it's not going to give you success on the court. Your development is what's going to give you success on the court. Depending who you are and what your needs are, but I could say 100% of the kids out there need to develop. There's not one basketball player in the world that's not trying to develop. LeBron James is still trying to develop. So that should be at the top of the list of what you're looking at, right next to opportunity to showcase yourself. And that all comes down to fit, just like we talked about with college decision. All comes down to fit, and the ability to showcase yourself is not just scoring, like we said.
Yeah.
Can you show that you can do all these other things?
And I tell guys all the time too that because I work with guys, I train guys that play for all different AAU programs, and they'll ask me which team, and I'll tell them too, similar to what you said, that you want to look for a program that actually cares about you, that is actually going to care about you, put the time in, make some calls for you, actually, well, you feel like you're one of their guys. And then you want to find the best team within that program you're going to get minutes on. You don't want to just go to what you think is the top team, and then end up, like you said, coach, not playing very much, because then what's the point? What are you really doing there? And there's a chance you might even when you do get out there, there's a chance you might be showcasing yourself in front of schools that aren't realistically recruiting you too. That making sure you find the best team that you can get minutes on more times than not will put you in front of the right coaches at the same time too. Usually that does work itself out. But is that something you agree with?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Jay, was there something you were going to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious also, know, right? I mean, we talk about, high level AAU teams that coaches already have, right? They have a few kids from that travel team. What about the kid, right, who may not be able to necessarily afford, that type of high level team, or maybe they're not exposed to it, they don't even know about it. What would be, how would you tell a kid to go about that, right? He's a high character kid, has the IQ, has the tools. What would you tell him to go about getting, reaching out, right? How would you want him to reach out, or him or her to reach out to a Southern Utah? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You're saying a kid who can't afford to play on a team?
Yeah, now you're right. Like, I mean, or better yet, like, I mean, say they come from a background where mom or pops may not know anything really about the AAU circuit, right? Like they don't have to even know what that is. But hey, they want to go to Southern Utah, So how do they, or they got some specific schools that they want to go to, but they can do their thing though, right? They can hoop. They have everything you're looking for. How do they go about getting into your, getting into your, into your database, being one of the guys that you guys potentially want to go ahead and maybe potentially sign?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, everyone's dealt a different set of cards here in life in terms of opportunities and how easy things might come to them, what their parents can provide for them, what they need to fight for themselves. I actually was listening to like a TED talk today. It was a pretty interesting concept, but it seems to be pretty true, is that the resources there's more resources and opportunity available to anyone now than there ever has been, right? If I want to get better as a basketball player, I just need to get a ball and get on YouTube. And I can find a way to develop myself. Is that as great as having a personal trainer who my parents can pay a lot of money to? Maybe not, but you're also learning other things by having to get it on your own. You're learning how to figure stuff out on your own. You have a different level of hunger. You have a different level of focus, a different level of maturity than someone who just has those things taken care of. So while it might seem like it's harder to maybe get player development that you need to get better, take it as a positive and take it as I'm growing up faster. I'm learning how to make a plan for myself to be a better player. And there are enough resources right on the internet to learn how to become a better player. And it wasn't like that at all times. Maybe there was a kid out there who just had no idea about the game of basketball and wanted to learn, and his parents couldn't provide the opportunity and he had no way to learn.
Yeah.
But now really every kid has in some form or fashion resources at their fingertips to get better. So whatever your cards are that you were dealt, the determination to figure it out and not make excuses and just find a way is what's going to be your story. And if you have more things blocking you and in your way, well, when you break through that wall, you're going to be even stronger than the kids who maybe had it easier and didn't have to learn how to fight for that necessarily. So that would be my best advice to kids who maybe feel like they don't have opportunities. Get out of the mindset of thinking about what you don't have and start getting creative and thinking about what you do have. And don't be too cool to go on an outdoor court and get that work in.
Yeah.
You might not be able to get in the gym. You might not even be able to get an outdoor court, but there's a lot more to the game of basketball than shooting. You can work on your passing. You can work on your handling. You can work on your defense, your conditioning. You can learn IQ stuff breaking down film on YouTube.
Yeah. And understanding, like, you're not going to do it in a day. You're not going to do it in a week. You're not going to do it in a month. It's going to take time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like that's the most important thing. Like understanding, like, this takes time, man. Like you can't rush this. This is, you can't rush this in any sort of fashion. Everything that if you want to get better at it, it's going to take time. And I think that's definitely the most important part too. I appreciate that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I even want to piggyback a little bit. The question Jeremy asked about reaching out, because I get this question a lot too. Obviously, working with a bunch of guys at BTI and families asking about reaching out. So, like I said, what would you say to a kid, a BTI type kid, maybe a kid anywhere around the country who's a good player, who is, more or less you could say slept on in a way as far as is not out there yet, but is a good player and may even be good enough, to break through. There's always a handful of guys every year that do break through to even being Division I players that no one had really heard of, 18 months before or whatever it was. So to those players that really do, and I'm not talking about everyone in the world who wouldn't even have a prayer of being a Division I athlete. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, obviously we want everyone to be realistic. That's part of what this video series is all about, is to give people real information. So I'm talking about a player who has a real shot, at being a Division I player, but you have no idea who he is, and you want to know who he is. You want him to know how to get you and to get your attention. What would you say to him or his family?
Well, I would say that for starters, there's no D1, D2, D3 NAI on your degree, and if you can get a scholarship to play college sports, you need to look at all options. And then if it is really your dream, which it is for a lot of kids, to play Division I basketball, I think you need to look at the landscape now and not count out every level of college basketball as a pathway to Division I. Because this thing has become a lot more like overseas. And when you're coming out of high school, you're a rookie. And for a rookie to get a big time contract right out of college to go overseas is very rare. You got to prove yourself at a certain level. And now, and it might not be what you want to do necessarily, but there are a lot of kids who are going Division II and showing that they're really good at that level, and they hit the portal and go to Division I because that's their dream. And it's been interesting to me to talk to a lot of these kids and how their Division II coaches have supported them in that move because they know that's their dream. A kid transferred from a Division II to Baylor this year on scholarship. Another kid transferred from Division II to Kansas on scholarship. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah, there's the Duncan Robinsons of the world who went from D3
that's a great example.
to
D3
Michigan to the NBA.
Michigan to the NBA.
Yeah.
So I would say reach out to everyone, whether it's junior college, Division III, Division II. Just an opportunity to showcase yourself is going to be the new low major Division I, if that makes sense, because the numbers are just smaller. So you might need to start out at a certain level to get a chance. There's just less numbers. I don't think if I was coming out now, I don't think I would have got a Division I scholarship, really. I don't think I would have got a chance. I just by the numbers.
Except maybe that the game has changed in your game's favor, in my opinion.
I think, well, now in today's game, but I'm saying just strictly the numbers and where I came late.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do.
And I don't think that would have been me. That would have probably been a transfer from a D2 or something who had already proven himself at the college level.
Right.
So just be aware of the new market. This is a business and this is a market. And there's only a certain number of spots. So like I said, there's available resources to everyone. You can get online and get every college coach's email from every JUCO to NAIA to D3 to D2. And at the Division I level, you're going to get a lot of emails. We get a lot.
That's what I was going to say. How do you know which ones to read and which ones you don't?
Well, I try to read through all of them at some,
Okay.
some.
Some families don't know that. Families ask me too. Is a coach going to read this? Is it going to hit the spam? Is he going to give? Is he going to care about me if I send him an email?
Yeah. I mean, it's just. If you're pulling up an email, you'll probably click on a highlight tape, and probably within 3 clips, you're going to know if you're going to keep watching or not.
Yeah.
That's the reality. But I guess, long story short, I wouldn't be too prideful to reach out to every level and understand that the market's different and that you're going to showcase yourself wherever. If you're good enough and you're focused on the development, you're going to showcase yourself at a level. And if you're good enough to play Division I basketball and that's your dream, you might need to take a step before you get there, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the new age that we're in. And maybe a lot of kids don't want to accept that or realize that, but that is what it is now.
Phenomenal.
I got another
Oh,
question.
go. Yeah, jump in.
Yeah, I'm gonna the question right just on the end part of that because I think it's
Wait, you're breaking up a little bit, Jay.
right. You got a majority of kids that play, but at the same time, is this better? Can you hear me?
It was, yeah, I think we're good now. Starting, yeah, you can start again. Oh, maybe not.
What
You're-
I was saying is, am I in and out?
Yeah, you're a little frozen. You're kind of coming in and out.
All right, then I'll save it. I'll save it. Never mind. Oh, good.
Wait.
I don't want to mess with the vibe.
I don't know. Try one more time. One more time.
Okay. What I was saying is you got guys that want to, right? They really want to get to Division One. They're all Division One. But can you kind of talk on those? Like, you know, if your goal is to continue to play after college, right? Like, you can still play professionally, going to a Division Two, going to a Division Three, going NAIA. Can you kind of just talk about that a little bit, man? I feel like that's something that's not really talked about a lot. I feel like, you know, a lot of these kids think it's D1 or nothing. You know what I mean? I
Or
go
I got no
Division
shot at
One.
getting paid. Yeah.
I have no shot of playing this game after college, and I feel like that needs to be more. You know, that needs to be talked about because there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't go NAIA, I have no doubt that I wouldn't have gotten a chance to play overseas. The professional game is a very much just production oriented game. I mean, I would say overseas, especially, like a lot of the things we've talked about that we look at in terms of work ethic and those sorts of things, really at that level, they just care if you produce. Like, you could go out to the club every night. If you're getting wins for your teams, then you get a contract. That's just what it is at that level. But you need to be able to prove to them that you can produce.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say for guys that do that, they're usually making a lot less money than they should have if they had those work habits. Like, I played with a lot of guys who should have been in the NBA that were playing overseas and making a lot less money than they should have if they did have that sort of work ethic. But you need to show that you have the ability to produce. And if you're on the bench, you're not going to be able to produce. That's just what it is. Now, patience, like we talked about earlier, if you're at a good Division I program where you know that you're going to get your chance in a year or two or whatever it might be, and you're developing and practice every day, then be patient and you're going to get your chance. And that builds a lot of character too. But you need to be able to show that you can produce. And sometimes that means going to a lower level because people really don't understand your game. You don't even understand your game yet. You think you do, but if you haven't really got to playing games, you don't really understand your game, you know? So for a lot of kids, I mean, we have a kid on our team right now who transferred from Illinois, and he's USA Today preseason player of the year in our conference. And we've had like 15 NBA teams calling him. And people didn't really know what he was when he transferred to Illinois. They just knew he was talented, but he didn't really know what he was when he first got here. And now he's finding himself. He's finding his role at the college level that's going to translate to a Division I level. But like I said earlier, had he made the mistake of going Illinois to like a Pac-12, he might not have got a chance to really learn who he is as a player. So how do you expect a professional team to know what you are? You don't even know what you are because you haven't been able to play because you've been more focused on the conference that you're in or the Instagram post than really betting on yourself and going to a place where you're like, I'm gonna get to play and I'm gonna show everybody what I'm about.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's big
time.
Yeah. I mean, just decision making is so important, obviously in life, but in this recruiting process, the decisions that are made really shape where, how your career ends up shaping out. So that's I think that was a phenomenal insight from you, man. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know Jeremy does too. I'll let him say something too, but I love you, man. I really appreciate you coming on here, and the gems you dropped will be greatly appreciated. They really will. These these will be absorbed by the right people. And so I'm happy, man. I'm happy for you. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful you came on here to share this insight, because hearing it from you, from someone in your position, is literally the most valuable thing that some of these people, players and families, can hear right now. So I'm grateful. And Jay.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. We appreciate you taking the time to drop these gems, man. I think you really hit on some very, very important topics, and you threw out some statements that I think will hit home with a lot of the people that that need to hear this. Because I think a big part for these kids is just changing the mindset, right? I think you already hit that. Like, if the mindset can be focused on not so much right about the points, man, it
Yeah.
could be this whole journey can go so much further for you. It could be a lot smoother. So, and at the same point, right, you already hit it. Like, if your desire is to be anywhere you want to be in life, man, if that's your desire and you're willing to do anything to make that happen, shoot, it's gonna take the time, and you gotta go ahead and get to work. The work ethic is important. So, wow, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. I can't wait to get this vid out, man. This is big time. This is big time.
I really appreciate you guys too. BTI is just like family to me, and I really mean that. Obviously, like my little brother's over there running with you guys now. He's only 14 years old,
Yep.
and like I said, I wouldn't be here without you guys. And last thing I would say that we didn't really touch on is, like, we're always thinking about the next thing in life, and kids are always thinking about their next thing in their basketball career. Don't let your desire to want to play college basketball hinder your enjoyment of high school basketball. And don't let your desire to play professional basketball hinder your enjoyment of playing college basketball, because the next level is not guaranteed. And even if you do get there, it goes by faster than you can ever imagine. And if I had one regret, I don't live with a lot of regrets, but if I had one regret, it would be enjoying where I'm at and not being over consumed with where I'm trying to go, because this opportunity to play basketball is special. It's very short.
Quick. Yeah.
It's so quick. Life is quick, right? And you don't start realizing that until you're getting a little older, how quick this thing is going. The basketball career, even if you play 10 years in the NBA after college, it's going to be like a snap of the fingers gone. I mean, I remember the guys that I was looking at playing when I was a little kid, and they're 50 years old now. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I remember when that dude was a 20-year-old stud, like killing in the NBA.
It didn't even take that long.
Like, I remember when Kobe Bryant got drafted.
Yep.
And they're talking about this high school kid who coming out, and now, time just flies. So enjoy the moment, because really, even if you do coach, whatever, nothing's going to compare to the days you have playing and being with your teammates. So enjoy the moment. Don't get over consumed with the next thing. And usually that's going to result in you giving even a better performance wherever you're at.
Yeah, it's actually a gread life lesson, because there really isn't a finish line. Whenever you think you would, the goal you're head towards, once you get it, you immediately rebirth a new goal. So the race never ends. There really is no finish line. So it really is about enjoying the journey. And I really appreciate you bringing up that the one wish you had would be to go back and enjoy it more, because I do think that everybody, all of us, we're all guilty of that sometimes, is getting obsessed with what's coming, but the moment is really what it is all about. So that's phenomenal stuff, my man. Phenomenal stuff. I appreciate you, like I said, for the fifth time.